Hello, continuing with the laws of the Seder after today's snow just finished. We are on Tuf Ayin Gimel Beis, which is 473-2 in the Shulchan Aruch, and we'll be doing the Shulchan Aruch and the Mishnah Berurah. We're talking about the first cup of wine. Shaisa b'haseba, the first cup of wine, which is Kiddush, has to be drunken while leaning. So we know we lean on our left sides, and you have to drink the first cup of wine leaning. Ve'eno mevarach achar, and you do not make a blessing after drinking the first cup of wine. We know usually when you drink wine, you make the after blessing of Al HaGefen, but here you don't do it, and we'll see why. The Mishnah Berurah says, V'im shachav v'lahesev. Well, first, let's say you didn't lean when you drank. I am a Siman Taf Ayin Beis, Sif Zayin. Look at Siman Taf Ayin Beis. It's a previous Sif Siman where we talked about what happens if you don't lean. With Mishnah Berurah, Sif Kan Chafal. Ve'en mevarach achar. If you don't make an after blessing, Al HaGefen, afilu shasa revius. Even if you drank a revius. Usually, if you drank a revius, you have to make an after blessing. That's a significant amount. So the reason we don't make an after blessing is because later on in the Seder, we're going to be benching on the meal that we ate. So the benching which happens later in the meal in the Seder covers the 2 cups of wine. Cover the cups of wine. Furthermore, and after the 4 cups of wine, we make a Al HaGefen, on all of the cups of wine. So you are covered either way, because we're going to bench at one point in the meal, and we're also going to make an after blessing on the wine for the after the 4th cup. And later this will be explained well. Okay, Seif Gimel. Let's say we're supposed to drink 4 cups of wine at the Seder. Let's say you feel like drinking more cups of wine. You're allowed to, says the Shulchan Aruch. Nevertheless, you should not drink wine before the 1st and 2nd cup, unless you really need to. So not really sure when that would come up nowadays, where you really need to drink a glass of wine. So what's the reason that you shouldn't drink more than 4 cups? You shouldn't drink more than 4 cups between the 1st and 2nd cup, because you might get drunk and you won't be able to complete the rest of the Seder. You won't be able to read the Haggadah. I know myself and others like us, we can get a little tipsy for 4 cups. So if you start just drinking cups of wine at the beginning of the Seder, you will not be able to fulfill the mitzvahs of the night. So technically, the Shulchan Aruch says you are allowed to drink wine before the 1st and 2nd cups, but he says not to do it unless you really need to. Now we're going to see the Mishnah Berurah is going to add some caveats to this. Kamakosos, Yud Beis in the Mishnah Berurah. Bein sheshosa ben rishon l'sheni o la'achar kos sheni kol shchein b'toch achila. So he's talking about drinking wine between the 1st and 2nd cup, or even after the 2nd cup, but all the more so when you're eating the meal of a ben shlishi l'revi aser. However, between the 1st, 3rd, and 4th cups, it's absolutely prohibited to drink extra wine. And this is going to be talked about later. So he said you're allowed to drink extra cups. Now, according to what the Ramah writes later in Siman Taf Ayin Daled Bagad, our custom is that before every cup of wine that we have at the Seder, we make it a separate blessing of Bori Pri HaGafen. That's our custom. Now, why is that significant here? The Mamela Niftar Kozman Shlo Chashav Behedya Shalo Lishtos. The main diet of Lishtos Benakos Varka Kaknam Lishtos in King Sark Varklam is also Shnir Kamos Valakos Kevin Shabavarkal Kos Zekamo Kol Shar Arbakos, the Commercial Examiner Leal, Tafayan Bays, Mishnah Berurah. He says this is significant because since the Ramal holds that you have to make a blessing on every new cup of wine you drink, therefore if you were to add cups of wine between the 1st and 2nd cups or during the Seder, you would be making a blessing, and the fact that you're making a blessing, it looks like you're adding on to the number of cups to drink that you are required to drink at the Seder. The rabbi said to drink 4 cups, and just like you're not allowed to take away mitzvahs in the Torah, you're not allowed to add. So you're not allowed to look like you're doing more mitzvahs, more times than is required by making the blessing before you take another cup. So according to the Ramah, if you're making a blessing before you're adding an extra cup, you're not allowed to do it. However, if by the 1st cup, when you made Kiddush, you had in mind that your Bori Pri HaGafen is going to cover every subsequent cup of wine you're drinking, then you would be allowed to. You'd be allowed to drink extra cups of wine. Now again, but then it reverts back to what the Mechaber said, what the Shulchan Aruch said, that it's only a time of very pressing need. So If you didn't make a bracha, then it's totally, if you didn't have in mind when you drank the first cup, then it's totally prohibited to add extra cups. However, if you did have it in mind, then you could add extra cups if it is a time of pressing need. Continues the Mishnah Berurah Yud V'chein minagenu. Our custom is that, right, what the Shulchan Aruch said about not drinking unless it's a time of pressing need. Shalish ben rishon l'sheni lachu shleish mishaymer dadisharinan lishtos ben hakosos hainu ben kosheni leben koshlishi. He says, there's even another opinion that says that it's totally prohibited. You're only allowed to add cups between the second and third cup because it's close to eating or it's in the middle of eating and you're not going to get drunk. So the fact, the reason said you can't drink, add extra cups is because you're going to get drunk. Sounds like if you want to just drink water or something that doesn't get you drunk, that's allowed. Then it's totally permitted. And with that, we'll stop here. If anyone has any questions or related to this, not related to this, please feel free to reach out. As always, wishing everyone a warm, beautiful day.